I feel it's a duty as a Canadian to be on jury duty. I feel it's a privilege. I really, really enjoyed it.
I think from the very outset, the judge really set the tone and made everyone feel very at ease and comfortable. And it definitely made my job easier as a juror.
I feel it's very valuable. After being in jury duty, I would tell anybody, when your time has come, you should be there.
Members of a democratic society are sometimes called to serve as jurors, and when they do, they are participating in what is considered to be one of the most important public services in their community. Being a juror is a very rewarding experience. Those who participate feel an important sense of community involvement because they've done their part to make sure justice has been served.
Oyez, oyez, oyez. Anyone having business before the Queen's Justice of the Superior Court of Justice, attend now and it shall be heard. Long live the Queen. Please be seated.
I was really annoyed when I received a summons for jury duty. I remembered thinking, why me?
I wasn't sure what to expect, but I saw justice in action. The trial was a real eye-opener.
It was one of the most important civic duties I have ever been asked to take part in. I'm glad I had the opportunity.
This is where justice is carried out, in courtrooms similar to this one right across the province. It's where real-life dramas play themselves out in front of a group of men and women chosen for jury duty. You may be wondering why some people are summoned for jury duty and why others aren't. Hundreds of thousands of people in Ontario are asked to fill out a questionnaire they receive in the mail to determine if they're eligible for jury duty. If they are, they may be summoned to court to serve as a member of a jury panel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be chosen as jurors.
I was so confused at first. When I got summoned to court, I thought I was automatically chosen for jury duty, but that wasn't the case at all. There were lots of people who weren't chosen. It was a real learning experience.
The importance of the jury in our justice system should not be underestimated. It's been an integral part of our society for several centuries. In fact, the jury system is the entire foundation of the justice system. It's a right for the individual to be judged by a group of equals. It's one of the things that separates us in our democracy from many other countries from around the world. You might say the jury is the conscience of the community. How people are summoned for jury duty is the same for both criminal and civil trials. All jury panels gather in the jury assembly room where they are introduced to the court services officer.
Good afternoon. My name is James, and I'm a court service officer here, and I'd like to welcome you to the Superior Court.
The court services officer is the key contact for all prospective jurors. He or she answers questions and shows this video to explain how the jury system works. The court services officer also organizes people into the panel. The panel is a group of potential jurors who are summoned to court. The final selection of jurors is made from this panel when numbers are randomly drawn. The selection process is determined by the type of trial, criminal or civil. Regardless of whether it's a criminal or civil trial, some jurors may find they are required for several days, others for several weeks. There is no set time limit. The judge will advise jurors as to the estimated length of the trial. In this video, the courtroom scenes you will see are based on a criminal trial. There are some differences for civil trials, which will be explained later in the video. Jurors may be asked to take part in a criminal trial when someone is accused of a certain criminal offense. In some cases, counsel may be permitted to pose a few predetermined questions to each prospective juror to ensure that they will be able to decide the case free of prejudice or bias.
Have you heard or read any media coverage in relation to this case?
This procedure is called a challenge for cause. If that procedure is going to take place in your particular case, the judge will explain how it works. In every trial, There is a judge, a registrar, and a court reporter. Participants in a trial are often represented by lawyers who are referred to as counsel. In criminal matters, the lawyer acting on behalf of the Crown is referred to as the Crown Attorney. The accused is represented by defense counsel or may represent himself or herself. The first time in a courtroom can be intimidating and confusing, but it doesn't take long to see who the key players are and to understand their roles in a courtroom. This is where the judge sits. He or she is responsible for controlling the events in a courtroom.
My job is to guide the jury throughout the course of the trial. I'm there from the jury selection process right through to the end of trial. Once counsel complete their closing submissions, it's my job to instruct the jury. What that means is that I summarize the evidence and I tell them the law that must be applied to those facts in order to make their decision. One important instruction that your judge will give you is that as jurors, you are judges of the facts. You're not lawyers and you're not investigators. What that means is you shouldn't be doing your own research. Don't go onto the internet, read books, or ask other people about what's happening in your trial. It wouldn't be fair to the parties if you were to consider evidence that was untested through the court process.
I remember when the judge walked into the courtroom, everything stopped. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. It's fascinating. I think that's when I started to realize the significance of what I was being asked to do.
Another key player in the criminal trial process is the Crown Attorney. He or she is the prosecutor in criminal cases.
Our justice system has always relied heavily on jurors to ensure that people are tried under fair circumstances. As a Crown Attorney, it is my duty to present the jury with evidence of a crime.
The other key player who may bring witnesses before the court while presenting a case is the defense counsel. He or she represents the accused in a criminal matter.
Anyone accused of a criminal offense is entitled to a defense as part of a fair trial.
Once all the witnesses have testified and all the evidence is entered, the Crown Attorney and defense counsel make their closing addresses to help the jurors better understand all the issues involved.
A trial is not a contest between lawyers. Jurors are expected to reach a verdict based on the evidence that they hear and on how the law applies to it, not based on how they feel about the lawyers involved.
We spent hours listening to witnesses, but when I realized that I was going to be part of a decision that could have a huge effect on somebody else's life, I made sure that I didn't miss a thing. After all, I would want the same consideration if I ever found myself as a party in legal proceedings.
There's no doubt about it. Jury duty is a great responsibility. Let's meet some of the other key players you will see in a courtroom. The registrar sits over here. The registrar's duties are to randomly draw the numbers of jurors and call the jurors to the front of the room. They also announce when the court is in session or in recess. The person who sits over there is the court reporter. He or she records every word that is said at a trial. There is also a witness box where witnesses are questioned and cross-examined.
I could feel my hands starting to sweat as I walked to the front of the courtroom. I kept on thinking to myself, this can't be happening to me. But little did I know it would turn out to be one of the most memorable experiences of my life, and one that would give me a whole new understanding and appreciation of our legal system.
In a civil trial, either party may request a trial by jury. A civil proceeding is a lawsuit of a private nature that couldn't be settled out of court. There is no Crown Attorney. The plaintiff, the party bringing the suit, is sometimes represented by counsel, known as counsel for the plaintiff. The defendant, the party defending itself against a claim, is sometimes represented by counsel for the defendant. Alternatively, a party to an action may be represented by himself or herself. In a civil matter, anyone who is being sued is entitled to a defense as part of a fair trial. In a civil trial, the names of 6 prospective jurors are randomly drawn, and those 6 persons are seated in the jury box. At that point, counsel for the plaintiff is asked if he or she wishes to challenge any juror. If a challenge is made, counsel responds by calling out the number of the juror challenged. The process is repeated until both sides indicate they have no further challenges, or until they have used their peremptory challenges available for each side in a civil trial. Once the jurors are selected, the trial can begin.
I had so many questions when I was chosen for jury duty. For one thing, I was kind of worried that I'd be separated from my family for the length of the trial. And I know this may sound kind of ridiculous, but I didn't know what to wear to court. I mean, did I need to get all dressed up, or could I be casual?
The court expects all jurors to be clean and neat, but they don't have to dress formally. Lawyers, on the other hand, have to wear dark, simple robes. They are expected to present a figure of quiet dignity on behalf of their clients and the court. As for being kept away from your family, the only time members of a jury are sequestered, that means placed in isolation as a group, is at the very end of a criminal trial when they've started their deliberations and haven't reached a verdict by the end of the night. Then the courts will provide them with accommodation.
When I was summoned for jury duty, I was worried about money. Would I get paid for being a juror?
Jury panel members selected for jury duty are only paid according to guidelines provided under legislation. Some companies pay for the time that jurors are away from work under their benefits packages. However, not all jurors are paid by their employers. Additional information concerning juror payments can be found at the Ministry of the Attorney General's website.
Even though I missed the chance to make a few more dollars, I'd jump at the chance of being a juror all over again. I really felt like I was making a contribution to society, that I was making a difference. The experience also really restored my faith in the justice system. It just made me realize that we all have an important role to play in order to make sure that we all get a fair shake.
The one thing I found so fascinating about being a juror was how interested people were in the whole process. And to this day, whenever it comes up in a conversation that I sat on a jury, people have so many questions. Now, I can't discuss any of the deliberations or why we reached the verdict that we did. That would be breaking the law. But I can tell people that jury duty is worthwhile.
The jury system has a long and rich tradition. Understanding it, then playing a part in it, is one of the fundamental responsibilities of Canadians. It's an honor to be allowed to judge our peers. It's also a civic duty for which members of a democratic society are held accountable. And attendance is governed by law. The system only works well when we all do our part to make sure justice is served.
When you're asked to sit on a jury, you're faced with the reality that the fate of someone else's life or livelihood is in your hands. You listen intently, you weigh all the facts, and then you apply the law as it's been explained to you. And when you walk away at the end of the day, you feel renewed confidence and you take pride in the fact that you are part of a justice system that works.
Oyez, oyez, oyez. This court is now adjourned.
Seeing the real thing, seeing how the process works, gaining an understanding of the scales of justice and how it's administered was a very enlightening and interesting experience for me, and also for the other people on my jury.
I feel proud to have served on the jury and to have done my part to serve justice.
No one should be worried about being on jury duty because you're there to do your part as a member of the justice system. You all listen to the same information and you're able to make a decision. You talk to each other about it, you put all of the pieces together, and you make a decision.
I have a lot of admiration for the justice system, and in fact I found that I'm more conscious now of the things I read in the newspaper and the things I hear than I was before I became a juror.
I think that everybody plays their part, and that's what the contribution is all about. If you do your best, then everything will come together and the justice system will work.